three bitches in 12
when we
minutes that
stay
have
at
been
the
dropped on me.
shady ass Ramada Inn and Tony closes the bar down and buys drinks for everybody, you don't know anything about being
I'm now a
You're
three-time
not
bitch
a
champion.
Hoosier. You're not a Hoosier.
I'm a
You're
volunteer.
an Arkansasian.
No, that Tennessee, definitely not Arkansas.
It's even worse. You might have had relations with somebody that's related to you. Us Hoosiers, on the other hand, we're salt of the earth, my friend.
Salt.
So yeah, Tony gets excited about going to the Rumble. And
You do.
Tony gets excited about going to the Rumble.
It's not about the speed, though. In all honesty,
Is it not?
It's literally about you look at all the different forms of motorsports I've been a part of. It's literally about trying. I've enjoyed trying new things, and you always get the people to say, he won't be successful in this. He won't figure this out. And then you figure it out, and you go win a couple races.
Yeah.
You can say that about some racers. They can't say that about you, buddy.
Get that.
So I think that's the fun of it for me, is just trying to do different things. And it's not like I search them out, but all these are just unique opportunities that have presented themselves. And next thing you know, you're trying something different. You're like, wow, this is cool. And like I say, it's fun to learn a different discipline. But I would say the NHRA with the dragster, it is like Fantasy Island. It's off on its own little island to the right, where everything else, whether it was late models, sprint cars, Indy cars, NASCAR.
There were tangents. You had tangents in those.
Yeah, there's a lot of
there's a certain amount of comfortability that you get
same.
into it as well, because you've been doing it so long. So getting in going to Dover for the 46th time wasn't a big deal to you,
right?
But every time you strap into however many 15,000 horsepower things right below your crotch, right there. That's different every time, right? I mean, no two races or no two drags are probably ever the same.
No, and I think the biggest misconception, and I used to watch it religiously on TV. Once Austin Prock got in the sport, because we were buddies, and he ran his midget out of our shop, and so we would watch him, and especially qualifying. While we were loaded into a racetrack and unloading things, we had a TV at the back of the trailer, and we would watch. But I think the biggest misconception about it is that everybody thinks they fire them up, they do a burnout, they back up, somebody's backing them up, telling them where to go. They get stopped, they pre-stage, the engine guy gets up there and twists a couple knobs, they stage, and then off they go, and they just run straight down through there until you're around it and realize there's way more going on than that. And when you stand straight behind one of those cars, they never go exactly straight. If they go absolutely string straight, it's slow. So the fast runs are when they're moving around a little bit, because they're on the edge, and the tire's in a controlled slip all the way down the track. So it never hooks up one-to-one.
That aerial of watching a Top Fuel or Funny car, and to your point, watching it go back and forth. I was talking before you came in. Clay Milliken's a good friend of mine, and Clay was talking about the worst experience of all is the tire shake. When the tire, he said that's when you hit the G's that no human body's meant to get. Have you had that yet?
I had it in the alcohol car, but not to the severity that some of the nitro cars do. It beats the brakes off of you. I mean, I've literally had a run. I had multiple runs this year where it shook in qualifying or race runs, and literally have a headache for 3 or 4 hours afterwards.
Now, is a tire shake worse at the beginning, or as you've built up, 230 miles an hour and you get one towards the half track or 3/4 track? Is a tire shake more violent to you as your body early on or later on, or is it all just the same?
Most of the time, if it shakes really early, you're just going to abort the run,
right? Because
trying to pedal it that early isn't going to get you there. And I can only speak of the experience from the alcohol car. Normally around 1.5 to 2.1 seconds into the run, which the run's a 5.2 second run to the quarter mile. So well before half track, probably a third of the way down the run, it was the trouble spot for us. When it shakes there, it shakes hard, but you have a chance to recover from it and not have to abort the run necessarily. So it's those, we talk about in racing, whether it was Cup or sprint cars, late models, whatever, you talk about making split-second decisions. Now take that split-second decision and make a split-second decision on that split-second decision. That's what you have to do in drag racing, and that's the part that absolutely blows my mind about it. There's so many things that happen in a run that is less than 4 seconds long. And to be able to sit there and analyze when it starts to shake the tires, sometimes it's a weak enough shake that you can drive through it. But you have to be able to make that decision in your mind and make your foot do what it needs, whether it needs to do nothing but just stay on the gas, or whether you, in those cars, the alcohol car, we would call it a slap, where you'd get out of it and right back in. You had to make those decisions so fast and know what you could or couldn't do and what you could get away with. That's one of the things that impresses me about it.
Have you ever come done with a run and then Mama Stewart told Mrs. Stewart, Leah, love her, told you where you messed up at and where you could have done better at? Because, she obviously is very good at this.
That's love.
True love.
That's love.
You guys are maybe making love, and she's like, hey, I just want to let you know you should have
It's not where I was going with that. But,
never brought that up.
That was not where I was going with that.
Never when I climbed into bed has she ever said that.
I do love the thought of that happening in the next week, though, and you're like, that damn Bubba. He's spoken into existence. He's spoken into existence.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say if she brings that up after we've climbed in bed, I really screwed that run up.
Yeah.
So
you might have walled it on that deal for her to be bringing that up.
When you pull that chute, we were talking before you got here too. What is it like when that chute grabs you?
Thank God I'm over it.
Relief.
Thank God.
Relief.
Thank God I lived.
And it was funny because when we were building the team, the winter before our first season 2 years ago, I was talking to a sprint car guy that came to the shop and wanted to see what was going on. And I didn't see Leah's crew chief walking behind me at the time. And they asked me, they said, what's it feel like when the chutes come out? And they wanted to know physically what did it feel like. And I didn't miss a beat. And I said, relief. And the crew chief dropped what he had in his hands, and he was doubled over laughing. He goes, I've been in drag racing 20 years, and I've never heard anybody say that.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, it's great to run over 300 miles an hour. It's even more impressive to know you're going to stop before you run through the sand, before you go through the ski net, before you cross over the interstate and try not to T-bone a semi.
Speaking of 300 mile an hour, a lot of people don't realize that. I don't know if it's official or not, Tony, but I think and I know that you've told me before, but I think you in the Menards car at Indy, weren't you clocked at one time at like 246 down the back?
Wow.
No, 250 turning into turn 3.
There we go. Now talk about sketch.
Another break.
What happens? Let's go. Really? Let's go.
Another bamboozling.
I mean, it doesn't make you crazy or anything.
Bubba the Love Sponge returns after this.